Hi guys, welcome back to Barbecue for Beginners. This week we're going to be doing a brisket. It's from Hutchinson Hobbs, one of my favourite butchers over at Yarm, North Yorkshire, not far from where I live here. It's not a full packer, it's not the huge things you see on a lot of American videos. This is, I think it's actually the point, but we'll have a look at it when we get the packaging open. So let's get cracking. Okay, let's see what we got in the packaging. Good sized piece of meat. There she is in all her glory. Down there. Okay, let's see what we've got. Okay, you can see straight away the grain's running across this way. So once we've got this excess fat taken off, yeah, this is definitely the point. In fact, the point and the flat. Yeah. Okay, what we're going to do is first is take off some of this really thick fat. It won't render down as we want it to. There's not a huge amount of fat on this one anyway, to be quite honest. So these thicker bits of fat will take off. Leave some bit on, but I don't think it's going to render a huge amount. As you can see, there's not a massive amount of marbling in there either. So, well, there is, yeah, a little bit more on this side. That looks pretty decent. Anyway, we'll get this trimmed up and see where we're at. Like I say, this thicker fat is not really going to render down so much. So. See what we've got. Obviously, if you take the fat off, it's going to allow the rub that we're going to put on this to penetrate the meat a little bit better. I toyed with the idea of various different rubs. But having watched a few fellow barbecuers videos on YouTube, I've decided just to go with a simple salt and pepper rub on this one. I'll show you a few things that I did consider putting on, but I'm going to keep that for another time. So just these thicker bits of fat, because these are not going to render down. And we want to get as much of that flavour into the meat as possible. This silver skin there, we want rid of that. That's not what we want. It's just going to create a barrier in the meat. So I'll get this trimmed up and we'll come back and put the rub on. Actually, you can see this is different where the grain runs across. You can see the grain running across this way, and then the grain runs the opposite way. So this is like a little bit of the flat, and then the point end on this side. So to keep that in mind when we're carving it later on. So the fat's coming off nicely. Get rid of that. There's not a wild dog sitting beside me. There's actually a bin down there, so don't worry. Nearly there. I want to get as much of this meat exposed as I can. Take that rub, but I want to leave a little bit of fat as well because fat's flavour and all the rest of it. But I know some of the really thick stuff ain't going to render down. Some of it will, but it doesn't have like a full fat cap like you see on some of the American briskets that you may have seen. See, that's a really thick piece of fat. That is not going to render down. So we'll just take a little bit off, like that. Again, a big chunk of it here. I think we will leave. This is going to be the bottom of the meat, so I think we'll take a little bit off, just thin it out a little bit. But we're also going to leave some of this fat on to protect the meat on this sort of area I'm cutting into now. Like I said, it's not going to render down. So there's some really chunky, thick bits. Okay, so just to make the rub stick on here a little better, I've seen a few different versions of this. Good old Lee & Perrins, which I'm going to use, and some people I've seen use this Maggi seasoning. I think that's a German thing I got off good old Amazon again, but I might try a little bit on each side of the meat, to be quite honest. But anyway, for the rub, we'll get the rub mixed up first. Show you that. Another little tip there for your chopping board, stops it from slipping around. Just a bit of kitchen paper and a little bit of water on there. Okay, for our rub we have black pepper, kosher salt. I reckon kosher salt sticks to the meat better, and it's a bit more pure than table salt, and you can use rock salt as well, I guess. It doesn't really make any difference. And we've got, let's see, we've got mainly, the bulk of it's going to be the black pepper. So it's basically 60% pepper, 40% salt. In goes the pepper, in goes the salt. And a little trick I got off Mr. Harry Sue. Recommend you check out his videos. He does some fantastic stuff. I learned a lot from him. This is celery salt. I'm just going to throw a bit of that in there too for extra flavour. So I'm just going to give this a good old mix. Just put it in the old sandwich box and give it a good old shake. Making sure that it's sealed, otherwise you'll have it all over your kitchen, which we don't really want. Simple as that. And I've got one of these shakers. It's got quite big holes on the top, so we get all our different sized grains of pepper and whatnot through it. So it just slips off, and in she goes. There's the mix in there. Lid goes on. These shakers you can get, guess where? Beans are there. Goes on. Notice I didn't wash the meat. It's going to get very hot in that barbecue, so any pathogens and nasty bits and bobs, they're going to get cooked. There's going to be no germs whatsoever left on this. So rather than having this meat in your sink and splashing water all over the place, same with chicken, I never wash it. For me, there's a lot of arguments whether you should or shouldn't. I personally think it's best just to keep it away from your sink, because you're just going to splash bits of well, nastiness all over your sink. So I can see the grain is running, so if you can see that, running this way, and then on the flat part which is left over here, the flat would have gone down this way. So this is the point here, the thicker piece of meat, and the flat would have gone that way. So just when I've got the rub on, I won't be able to see the grain, I don't think. So another little trick is to stick some cocktail sticks just in there, which is just going to tell me later on which way the grain's running. I haven't gone deep into the meat because I don't want any holes in here to let the juices come out. So it's just right, literally in the top of the meat there. Just so it's going to be an indicator to which way the grain's running. Okay. We're going to put on some Worcester sauce to begin with. It's just to get the rub we're going to use to stick onto the meat. You don't have to smother it with gallons of this stuff, it's just to make it sticky. So I think we'll just do that part like so. With the Worcester, again, don't think it's going to make a huge difference to the flavour profile, but it's a bit of an experiment too. And we'll put the Maggi one on this side. Apologies if you can hear the washing machine in the background. My wife's got some washing on the go. This is my home kitchen, of course. It's not a restaurant or anything like that. Plenty of covering. Notice I'm not actually rubbing it, I'm just patting it into the beef. And once we've done this, it's just going to hang out in the fridge for an hour or so while we get the grill set up. Some in the sides as well. Don't leave any areas missed. Like I say, you don't really need to put any on the fat, but some of it's fat, some of it's meat, so I'll just put it everywhere. It's not going to make any difference. Like I say, I want to cover all the areas. That is literally going to sit for an hour or so while we get the barbecue set up. Okay, and put this in our pan and just let that hang out for an hour or so in the garage. Won't go in the fridge because my fridge is full, but the garage is that cold. It's January 19th, I think, today. and in the UK it's bloody cold, so the garage is nice and cold. Just put some kitchen paper over the top of it. Okay, got the Kamado cleaned, got rid of all the old charcoal from the last cook. So like I said, we're going to put some wood in, but one thing I've learned recently as well is when you're using wood, don't put it on top of the hot coal because it just burns. You want it to smoulder rather than actually burn. So it's another tip from Mr. Harry Sue. Check out his website, it's really helpful. So I'm going to put in a couple of chunks of mesquite. They go in, and also these are going to help that way, help keep those vents sort of a bit more airflow going through. So that's a couple of mesquite, a couple of small pieces of cherry. They go in, and I think maybe a couple of chunks of apple. They go in. So I'm just going to put some unlit coals on top of those, some lump wood. So we'll put that in next. Not the biggest chunks I've ever seen, so I'm going to also put in some other stuff that I've got, which is big green egg. Okay, I've taken some of those smaller bits out. There's still too many smaller bits for my liking, but got to work with what we have. So the chimney's fired up, and we're going to pop the hot coals in the centre here, and I'm going to let the Kamado come up to temperature. Should do us. So just then, not the best gloves to use really, but there you go. So this is the minion method really. Put the unused coals around the outside, and that'll spread out. It's going to be a hot cook, like I said, 400 degrees Fahrenheit and 200 degrees Celsius. So okay, for this cook we're going to use a mixture of mesquite, cherry and apple. I think the mesquite's going to give it quite a smoky flavour. I do like it smoky. If you don't like it too smoky, maybe go for the milder woods. But okay, we're up to 400 degrees, so we're going to get the meat on and let it cook. Stick it in the centre. Lid closed, and we'll leave that for a good hour, and we'll see what we have in about an hour or so. So we'll let that bark dry out and harden up, and we'll spritz it a little bit as well and turn the meat every, I don't know, 30 minutes, something like that. See you back shortly. Yeah, it's getting there. No need to spritz. Okay, we are 2 hours in. Have a little look. Nice bark on there. This is like a step into the unknown. Got a decent bark there, so I'm going to wrap this. Okay, so we've got the bark on there looking good. Whole thing's looking, yeah, it's black. Hopefully it's not going to be inside. I'm hoping it's pretty juicy in there still. Right, we're going to wrap it in butcher paper and tin foil. Got the tin foil the shiny side up because the shiny side reflects the heat. We want to keep the heat in there as much as we can. Before we do this, I've got some OXO rich farm bred beef stock. I don't have any scissors, but I do have a knife, so I'm going to cut this open. So I'm just going to pour some of this beef stock over the meat. It's soaking in pretty well. Never used this stuff before. Barbecue for beginners, don't forget. That should be enough. Barbecue for beginners by a beginner. Alright, so we're going to get this wrapped. Put this sides in first, I think. Deliberately kept this foil because I thought I might need some more. This Kirkland foil from Costco is really good. I can't recommend it high enough. It's really nice and thick. It's good stuff. So if you can get hold of some of that, highly recommend you do it. One more bit. Try and get the air out of that. Now in theory that could just go into my regular oven and just finish it off, but I like a challenge. Yeah, probe the meat for tenderness. Goes in pretty easily. I'm looking, yeah, it's like 210 Fahrenheit, that is. But it's more the feel, how it easily goes in once you get past the paper in there and to the meat. It goes in pretty well, so I'm going to rest this. I'm going to stop the cooking process by cutting in into the paper and the foil. Okay, I'm going to lift this out. I'll put this in a simple pan. Just lift it out. Oh, falling apart in my hands. Be careful here. Oh gosh. It's looking good already. I'm going to pour the jus over it. It's going in here. I hope you can see that. No, you can't. So we'll zoom out a little bit. It's going in there. There we go. It's a cooler box. No ice, of course. I'm going to sit that there for a couple of minutes just to let it cool off a little bit. Then I'm going to put the lid on and let it just rest for a little bit. Okay. Here is the brisket. Feels fairly floppy. Bit left over there. Okay. These are the prongs that we put in there. Prongs? Toothpicks. So you know the grain's running that way, so we're going to cut across that way. So yeah, we'll do it that way. Take these out. I bought a new knife specially. How about that? Okay, I'm going to go around here. Actually, You can see there the difference between the flat and the point. That's where the, I think that's where the rest of the point would have gone. Sorry, the rest of the flat would have gone. So anyway, here we go. Let me cut through it, see what we've got. See in there, a nice smoke ring. Very happy with that. Oops. Well, the slice is a bit too thin, but you can see it's pretty juicy and tender. Anyway, so I'll try that again. Try another slice. It's going to be a thick slice. This knife's not sharp enough, to be honest. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to try this piece instead. Don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty juicy. It's probably too juicy. Everyone does the old finger test, but I mean, it's pretty tender. It's just like falling apart. Gonna give it the taste test. It is smoky, definitely. Sorry for eating my mouthful. Very happy with the brisket. Super juicy, nice smoke ring. Anyway, this is the beer I'm going to sample today. This is Yorkshire Terrier. It's from the York Brewery, a place I've been to actually once. Very nice people over there. It's rich and creamy Yorkshire bitter, 4.2% alcohol, and it's a damn good beer. I've tried it before, so looking forward to trying it again actually. Damn good beer. This is my reward for my sitting around all day waiting for this to cook. So like I said, it's from the York Brewery, Yorkshire Terrier. That's how it looks. Cheers. It's good. It's like a creamy. It's got a creamy sort of taste to it. It's very drinkable. Highly recommend it. From York Brewery, really good beer. It's available from Hutchinson Hobbs, where I got the meat from. Highly recommend this beer. Obviously, you can get it in York and various other places. So, thanks for watching the video. I appreciate it. Give me a like. Give me a subscribe. Won't hurt you. Next time, definitely hooly hooly chicken. I keep saying hooly hooly chicken and the aloha thing. Definitely next time. Thanks for watching, and I'm really pleased with this brisket. I love it.